Now, when it comes to living a successful life, whether we're talking physically or spiritually, it obviously requires various things. But what is one key tool in the toolkit of life which rarely gets mentioned today? Well, let me put it this way. Suppose you've made some bad life decisions, whether in your finances, your relationships, or your faith. How open would you be to someone calling you out on them? Would you listen? No, you probably wouldn't. We'd all like to think that if we've made some serious mistakes, that when confronted, we'd immediately course correct our lives for the better. But in the real world, we humans generally don't behave that way. It's simply a sad fact of human nature that for every act of folly, we have 1,000 rationalizations. For every bad life decision, we have 10,000 justifications. Owning up to our failures and our mistakes in life, especially the ones that perhaps span many years, they have to be the most difficult things to confront. So the ability to handle constructive criticism, even when it's at its harshest, is essential when it comes to living a successful life. And again, whether we're talking physically or spiritually. And that's why Proverbs 17:10 is just as relevant today as it was 2,500 years ago when it was first composed. Proverbs 17:10 says that a rebuke impresses a discerning person much more than 100 lashes a fool. The discerning person, the wise person, views a rebuke, views constructive criticism, well, as a wake-up call to change the course of their lives, to move away from failure and move towards, hopefully, having a successful life. Such a person is open to constructive criticism because they know, well, we all have blind spots. Whereas the fool, well, the fool isn't open to, they're not willing to admit that they have blind spots. And so you could tell them 100 times where they're going wrong in life, and yet they will simply refuse to listen. Now, the willingness to handle life-giving criticism has never been easy. It doesn't matter what era people have lived in. No one likes to be criticized. No one likes to have their mistakes pointed out to them. And yet, I'd argue that the deck is really stacked against the modern person. Because, well, we've become a culture of fools. And what I mean by that is that, well, the overarching philosophy of our culture today, it's all about my truth, my lived experience, which translates that my truth, my lived experience is so sacred, so divine, no one can dare challenge it. A philosophy which dictates that we must always be kind, that we must always affirm people's life decisions. And we must never, ever judge someone else's behavior. And therefore, the modern person is immune to any constructive criticism that might otherwise save them from a lot of grief in their life. Now, not all criticism will be right. And not everyone offering the criticism will necessarily have the purest motives. The important thing is that we become the kind of person who is open to criticism and willing to course correct our lives when it's legitimately pointed out to us. And if we become that sort of person, then, well, all things being equal, we will enjoy a successful life, whether it's in the natural realm or the spiritual one.